Mumonkan, Case 47, Tosotsu's 3 Barriers. Tosotsu Etsu Osho set up 3 barriers for his disciples. First barrier: you leave no stone unturned to explore profundity, simply to see in your true nature. Now I want to ask you, just at this moment, where is your true nature? Second barrier: if you realize your true nature, you are free from life and death. So tell me, when your eyesight deserts you at the last moment, how can you be free from life and death at that moment? Third barrier: when you set yourself free from life and death, you should know your ultimate destination. So when the 4 elements separate, where will you go? Mumon's comment: if you can put turning words to these 3 questions, you are the master wherever you may stand and command Zen whatever circumstances you may be in. If otherwise, listen. Gulping down your meal will fill you easily, but chewing it well can sustain you. Mumon's verse: this moment's thought sees through eternal time. Eternal time is just this moment. If you see through this moment's thought, you see through the man who sees through this moment. So Master Tosotsu lived in the 11th century in China. In the practice with his monks, he would raise these barriers as part of his teaching. So let's repeat the first part of the first barrier again, which is like an introduction. You leave no stone unturned to explore profundity, simply to see into your true nature. For a variety of reasons, you, the viewer, and I got interested in meditation, which at a superficial level means introspection. Most of us find that life is kind of superficial, materialistic. Some of us therefore feel there is a need to look for something deeper than, for example, the level of sense perceptions. You can have the best meal, but is it enough? Or you can be in a museum and view the best painting, but is it enough? Or you can go to a concert and be amazed by the music, but is it enough? Or some of us feel there is something deeper than the level of thoughts. You can read the best books, but again, is it enough? Or you can undertake the best studies, but is that enough? or you can study the best philosophical systems, but will it really satisfy you? Also at the level of the feelings, you can have the best friendships, but is it enough? Even love affairs, do they fully satisfy you? For some, maybe yes, but for others, it is not enough. And then we embark on a spiritual journey. We listen to spiritual teachers, we read books, we do yoga, meditation, we go to retreats, etc., etc. All that to look for profundity, and we then leave no stone unturned to find that. And this was also the situation in the Middle Ages with the monks who were studying under Tosotsu. They had even given up work, family, friends to devote full time to this search of the truth. And during their practice, they were given koans to test their progress. And these barriers that we read, Tosotsu's 3 barriers, are just such koans. So I repeat the first barrier again. You leave no stone unturned to explore profundity, simply to see in your true nature. So far we have now already clarified. Now I want to ask you, here comes the question, just at this moment, where is your true nature? Such questions can only be responded to if you speak out of this profundity, out of this realm. And the problem is that we always take ourselves as this body-mind. But face it, this body can be perceived. Perceived by what? So this body is not the profundity we seek. And this mind, meaning thoughts and feelings, this mind can also be perceived. So this thinking mind is also not the profundity we seek. So if you cannot use this body and this thinking mind, how will you respond to Tosotsu? That is basically this koan. There are 2 ways you could respond. I mean, there are many other ways, but I'm going to suggest 2 ways. The first way, someone would say something like, oh, you know, it is in the here and now. Where is my true nature? It is in the here and now, and la la la, and consciousness and awareness. This is one way of answering. Unfortunately, this is the way of the intellect. This is the way of the thinking mind. Then there is another way to say, right here, right now. There is some subtle difference here, which a Zen master can perceive. In the first case, this tells him that the answer is still way too much from the body-mind, way too little from this profundity. In the second case, the Zen master may recognize that it's something coming from much deeper. However, once you demonstrated this to Tosotsu, you've demonstrated that you got it, then Tosotsu has a second barrier for you. I now read again the second barrier. If you realize your true nature, you are free from life and death. Then tell me, when your eyesight deserts you at the last moment, in other words, when you pass away, how can you then be free from life and death? We should note that everything that is observed gets born and dies. The universe got born, that was the Big Bang, I guess, and will eventually collapse, and that is when the universe will die. A galaxy is usually born at a certain time and then dies. A star, a planet, a moon gets born and dies. Same with a mountain, a river, a pebble gets born and dies. A wave, a cloud, a storm gets born and dies. A tree, a flower, a mushroom gets born and dies. An elephant, a dog, a mouse gets born and dies. A sight, a sound, a taste gets born and dies. A physical pain in the body, a feeling, a thought gets born and dies. So, all these things are observed, and all these observed things get born and dies. But what about the aware space? What about that in which all of these come and go? This can be thought of as a still point. Let me give you an example to clarify now why we can get closer to the question of Tosotsu. Imagine for a moment that you are in a train and you're even the train conductor. So you can ask yourself the question. The train is moving, you see the landscape. Are you the train driving, or are you still and is the landscape coming within you? And now imagine that this train is approaching a mountain with a tunnel. The moment the train enters the tunnel, the gliding landscape of fields and you name it is suddenly transformed into darkness. And when it then gets pitch dark, do you disappear? Now, even if you say yes that you disappear, what is there that notices this disappearance? So that possibility is not really one. Let's take another example. What about falling asleep? You are like this train driving, but now suddenly you're heading towards falling asleep. Is that how you feel? Or are you the aware space, the aware presence, the still point, seeing the falling asleep coming to you? First you see your bedroom, your pillow, your bed sheets surrounding you, and then at one point, just like when the train entered the tunnel, you fall into night dreams and you fall into this whole universe that is there during the night. And when that happens to you, do you disappear? Even if you would say yes, then again the question is, what is it that disappears? And what is it that notices that disappearance? And whatever it is that notices that does not disappear. Once you set something from that profundity to Tosotsu, but in a much more direct way, he still will have a third barrier for you. So let's now move to that third barrier. When you set yourself free from life and death, you should know your ultimate destination. So when the four elements separate, where will you go? This is not so different than the second barrier. But rather than the train entering a tunnel, the train is now in the tunnel. It is dark. Or to take our second example, instead of falling asleep, you are now asleep. In awareness, other realms of existence may come into existence when this body passes away. And we don't know anything of that. Some may believe you reincarnate into another human being. Others may believe you reincarnate into an animal or another being. Others again believe you will be reborn, but on a planet of a distant star, light years away from here. And some believe again that you just stay in dreamy states, just like what happens during the night when you fall asleep. Or some say, oh, you awake in a realm of elves and fairies and angels. And even other people say, oh, you will encounter God who will judge you and send you to either heaven or hell. Or others say you enter a black hole and that's it, and there is nothing else than blackness. There is no way to tell what will happen exactly, but what we are saying here is that the awareness that currently sees the world will still be there when those other realms will appear at the moment of death. And that is the most essential point. Awareness never dies. We now turn to Mumonkan's comment. If you can put a turning word to these questions, you are the master wherever you may stand and command Zen whatever circumstances you may be in. If otherwise, listen. Gulping down your meal will fill you easily, but chewing it well can sustain you. In other words, if you pass these barriers and answer Tosotsu out of this profundity, it shows that you are fully versed with your true nature, with consciousness, with your real ground. And living from that space, living from that place, makes you a master in all situations. And if not, Mumonkan suggests to you not to be satisfied too quickly and take time to truly integrate the deep meaning of this teaching at all levels in your everyday actions. Then we still have Mumonkan's verse, which is very beautiful and poetic. This moment's thought sees through eternal time. Eternal time is just this moment. If you see through this moment's thought, you see through the man who sees through this moment. So in other words, there is only here and now. Past is a thought of memory which plays into now. Future is a wishful thought for the future then, but which also plays in the now. And you can never be outside the now. So you see through the man who sees through this moment, through the now. That means you are a man who realized there is only now and views the world from that vantage point. Thank you very much and have a wonderful day.